I'm Zoe from the Cornwall Chamber.
Hi, I'm Sarah from Cornwall Chamber, and we're joined today with Laura, who is joining us for a Business Partner podcast. Laura, you're from Healy, so welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for having me and inviting me along.
No, thank you.
Thanks for coming along.
We just wanted to start off really just to say that we know Healy's as a tourist attraction has evolved massively over the kind of last 15 years. So from someone that grew up in Cornwall, I remember it when I was 15, and it was very different. It was a lot smaller, and I think now it has become one of Cornwall's kind of top tourist attractions. And obviously there's so much more going on than just cider. So it'd be good to hear a little bit about about what's happened over the last 15 years and recently, and kind of what you guys are doing now and all the changes that have happened.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, yeah, 15 years is a big old chunk of time I mean, we've got like 20 minutes. We probably could probably squeeze in about the last 6 months, actually, in the amount of time we've got. But can we just circle back slightly? I heard a rumour that you actually did work there for a day.
Thank you, Laura. I did, yeah. I did actually have a job for one day's employment. It didn't go so well for me because I was asked to wear a T-shirt that had a very ugly character on the front, and I think I've got a bit
should we start with brand evolution?
Yeah, brand evolution.
There we go.
That would be good. And the apple, the giant apple
suit
that they
on the road.
On the road. That was the final straw.
That's a classic now. The apple suit. Yeah, I think really everything that's happened at Healy's in the last 15 years, or even certainly the last sort of 3.5 years. So I've worked for the Healy's family for coming up 4 years now, and everything that's happened is really sort of symptomatic of the reasons why I took the job at the Healy's in the first place and what attracted me to wanting to work there. And I think all the changes are, indicative of the entrepreneurial spirit and the the wanting to invest in Cornwall.
Yeah.
All those sorts of bits that we don't talk about, we don't think about. So the things that we do at the farm, it's always about reflecting on how can we do it better? How can we push this harder? How can we be unique? How can we play on all these individual aspects that make Healy Cider Farm? How do we play on those and show those to our visitors? So, we all know that, we make Rattler and we make it in our factory and we sell it to supermarkets, and that's fantastic, and the growth that Rattler's had is incredible. We all know that. But I think, like you say, the hospitality side of it and the tourist attraction, I wouldn't necessarily call it a tourist attraction because I just don't see it in that way. We are our little Cornish farm doing what we do, and we invite people in to come and see that and be true to who we are, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and it's about, if we're going to have a factory, then we're going to make sure the doors of those factory are open. And I think, what's actually, bonkers, I still hear people walking around the farm today saying and they say, where is it that you actually make the Rattler then? Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think, I hope we never, and you're like, and the bottling lines going around and you think, but, I hope we would never lose that.
Yeah.
That's who we are. We don't have an ambition to start making Rattler in other places. Yeah. So everything we've done over the last 15 years is about honing that, bringing that back in, staying true to who we are, maximising it and wanting to show people, this is what we do. So last year we opened a brand new pressing facility. So it's amazing. So it's it's a design that the Healy's have come up with completely on the, autonomously. It's their own design. And the sustainability that's been built into how we get apples from a tree into the press house. But when we build it in such a way that we say, right, how are we going to keep these doors open to our visitors? How are we going to enrich their kind of experience? How are we going to send them home understanding our brand, give them the vibe, give them the feels? So, the brand experience room that we opened 2 years ago, dedicated space to trying all of our products. Going back 15 years, we probably had Scrumpy, which, by the way, it was a Scrumpy man on your T-shirt as opposed to a gnome. Scrumpy and Cornish Golden Classic and Rattler would have been, in its infancy. But these days, we make over 60 products. And there's a lot of, beautiful things that customers won't necessarily know about. So factory makes it, and the hospitality side needs to give those feels, give those vibes, bring that brand to life that send people away, having had their day made a little bit better by what we do at the farm. Yeah. So the brand experience room is all about a room dedicated to telling the story of every product we make, the history of every product, the method, the recipe, whatever it is that, is going to help a person understand the journey we've been on to create that experience for them, and what they take away from it and how they take it home and how they interact with that product later down the line is kind of really what the farm's about and what the aspiration is for the farm, and how we just keep pushing that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Healy's brand has grown so much, considerably, even when you mention the amount of products that you have now. And I think the transparency that you kind of mention, inviting people in to see what actually happens and that authenticity, that's what people love to see.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
because it's a family-run business, that's really important, particularly being in Cornwall. So I know that you have kind of branched out to other things other than just the farm now. So am I right in saying it's Cider House? That would be that organisation, which
exactly
I know that 5 Degrees West was part of that, and Gilly Beach Cafe as well.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little bit about those and that kind of transition to
Yeah,
to those
absolutely. Sort of tease in nicely with that entrepreneurial spirit that we have, and also the diversity of what we have. So about 2.5-3 years ago now, we made the decision that it'd been a long-term aspiration for the Healy's family, but we made the decision to start thinking about how we get our brands out there, how we put our eggs in more than one basket, if you like. And so we sort of thought, right, well, let's have a look at pubs and restaurants and bars and places where we can put our product in, but also create amazing hospitality experiences. So as you say, 2 years ago we bought Fives, which is our amazing, quirky, cool little bar down in Falmouth. It's just the best vibes down there, so it's great for students. It's a very sort of student-led place, but not just that. You've got the locals. We do amazing sport. We do DJ nights, band nights, deck the place with tellies when we want to watch the rugby and make sure it's the best pint of Guinness you're ever going to have. Sun out in the back garden with the best pint of Rattler you're ever going to have. And I think everything that we do at Cider House is, again, about making somebody's day that little bit better. It's about creating kind of immersive experiences. I always say when I'm talking to the team, it's not about giving people what they want. It's about giving them something better that they didn't even know they wanted. How do we get ahead of the game? So yes, and we talk sort of basic restaurant 101 or pub 101, and it's make sure you open the door at 12 if you say you're open at 12, and make sure your toilets are clean, and make sure you give eye contact and you say hello to everybody. Great. That's the functionality of running a pub. What we're trying to build is a swathe of establishments that actually are going to push that a little bit harder and go that step further and make it immersive. So yes, it's about having a pint in the garden, but it's having the best pint in the best garden in the sun with the perfect playlist at the perfect tempo, and the server comes up just as you finish it and is ready to get you another one. And actually it becomes something you look forward to, and it's a treat, and you think, God, I just want to relive that experience. Or if it's a coffee down at Gilly, when I get up and I go to work and I think, well, I'm going to go to Falmouth today, and I walk into Gilly and I have that first cup of coffee and it's just perfect and the view is perfect, and I just think,
and we were talking about earlier about the people of Healers, the people that make it, and how it's a certain person that can be part of hospitality. You were saying you lasted one day at...
I mean, I'd just like to say that I did have a successful career in hospitality. I like to think that I've evolved since 15. But you're right. In terms of when you speak, obviously you're so passionate about hospitality, and that really comes across. And I think that's so important. But obviously your staff and your people that work for you are kind of your most crucial assets.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And I've been so blessed in my career in hospitality that all the way along, even before I got to Healy's, that I've worked with some really amazing people, whether that be finance directors or ops managers or marketing managers, some such, and I feel in myself that, I can refer back to, I remember when he told me that 4 years ago, and it makes sense now. It took me 4 years to cotton on, but I get what he was saying now. And I'm this amalgamation of tips and pointers that I've absorbed from working with amazing people. And you're absolutely right, to give great hospitality and to give great service, you've got to find the right people. So at the start point, for me, when we're looking for people that want to work in hospitality, there's a few key things we look for, positive, open, willing, engaging, resourceful, responsible, all these sorts of things. Have they got personality, But most of all, I think what's important to understand from, people that don't work in the industry looking in, we're all here to try and look after you and to try and give you a great time and to try and make your day better and to try and enhance your experience. And absolutely finding those key people is challenging. And I think there's a few reasons for that. One, in our country, unfortunately, unlike some of the, amazing hospitality places in the world, Australia being one of them. I know you said you worked over there for a while. We still don't really acknowledge it as a career as such. And I think when we get that tide to turn a little bit, that will help. And I also think that we maybe have a misunderstanding in our country as well around what great food and drink costs. So there's got to be that balance there of how do we find great people? How do we look after them? How do we pay them fairly? How do we give them great working conditions? How do we fund doing that? How do we keep prices affordable and fair and keep the great product for the people that want to come and use it? It's a symbiotic relationship, so it all has to work. And I do think that in England, I don't think it's Cornwall specific, but in our country, in the UK, that we're sort of not, at that balance yet of people understanding what great things cost, unfortunately, unfortunately. But I think there's things that we can do, and I think that there are some really great people in the industry out there making some really great impact, in terms of there's loads of good stuff coming out of Truro and Penwith College in terms of their apprenticeship schemes, and in terms of Cider House Company Limited, that's something that we're so passionate about. How do we push that further? How do we say, well, what's our Cider House Academy? Because absolutely, you do an MVQ, and don't get me wrong, the hospitality students coming out of our community are fantastic. They are. But then how do we give that the Healy spin? How do we turn those into the people that we know that we need to thrive? Because we're unique, we're specific. We have our own climate, our own sort of way of doing things. So how do we take that idea and, the hospitality collective, that we launched a couple of months ago over at Headland, in partnership as well with the colleges. It's so fantastic. So we need to just make sure as a community and as an industry down here that we start acknowledging that as a proper career path for people. And it is apprenticeships. But, cool, we've done that. How do we pick that up and do it better? Make it as a career. And how do you keep it as a career? Exactly that. Having said that, being as seasonal as we are, we need to have seasonal staff. And that's great as well. There's uni students that want to come through that are full of energy, full of creativity. They're challenging because they've got amazing ideas, and you sort of want to harness it all and everything else. So, there's a lot to be said for seasonality, but there's also a lot to be said for year-round, career professionals. Yeah. And when you get them, they are game changers. We've got a porter, a kitchen porter that works at Gilly, and he's a career porter. And he honestly is the backbone of that kitchen. Yeah. He honestly is. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And without those key people with the right attitude, the grit, the determination, they can dig deep, they're team players, they can think on their feet. Without those people, we wouldn't have hospitality. So absolutely, to have a great business, it is about great people, of course it is, and looking after them in the right way.
I think that's such an important point as well, just valuing the team. And I think particularly around hospitality, that they work really hard. There's a lot of hours on your feet, again, it's sometimes with 0-hour contract or seasonal work, we know that happens, but you're so right. And when you say it's kind of, if you're running a business and you do it really successfully, you know the name, and from the cleaner to the KP to everyone, and it's how important they are. Like you say, they are such a crucial element to the team and to a successful day. So the fact that, like you say, you can't really change the fact that we know there's going to be seasonal staff. Of course, it's the model it is, but
it's
you can
embracing
still treat them right.
that.
Absolutely.
We couldn't function without seasonal staff.
Exactly.
To give you an idea, I don't know if people realise how challenging the seasonality of Cornwall actually is. So, as an example, the cider farm, so the hospitality side of the cider farm, in winter, we, at the moment, can really only support 20 people in winter.
Right.
Peak August, I need 80.
Wow, okay.
So, in a very few short months, we have to recruit 60 members of staff.
Wow.
And we have to make sure they're the right people. We have to make sure that they've got the right product knowledge and the right know-how to look after the guests in the right way. Yeah. That's incredibly challenging.
Yeah. Well, to make sure that they're at the same level, that you need.
Exactly that. But of course, for the visitor coming in, they're paying the same amount as the person tomorrow and the day after. Yeah. So you can't ever have an excuse of, I'm really sorry you were served by a really green team today that are doing their best. Because it doesn't matter. Yeah. You've got to be fair to your customers, and they've paid to come and have an amazing experience, and it's our duty to give them an amazing experience whilst looking after our team, whilst training them up. Yeah. So it's a lot of plates to spin and a lot of balls to juggle to pull that off. Yeah. So one of the things that we need, it's a massive spike in recruitment, and it puts a lot of pressure on everybody to do that. So one of the things that Cornwall needs is for that spike to smooth out slightly, which comes into the sort of winter part. And, how do we encourage, as a county, how do we encourage people, to visit Cornwall? How do we get same thing as applies though. It's all very well and good me sitting here saying, Airbnbs need to be cheaper, hotels need to be cheaper. the costs don't change in winter.
No,
The costs are the same, fair enough, you have less staff, but it costs the same to turn your lights on in winter as it does in summer.
Yeah.
So the costs are the same, and we have to recognise for businesses as well, it's not as simple as we've got to just do things cheaper in winter. To a point, yes. We've done some great things over at Gilly with our sort of £10 menu in winter on a Wednesday night. Great. And it was beautiful to have so many locals come over and really engage with that. But ultimately, there has to be a balance of what you can sort of say, hey, look, we'll do it cheaper.
Yeah.
I can't pay the staff less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so
no,
true.
exactly.
So you've got to find that balance. So we need to think as a county about how we position ourselves year round. And it's hard, of course, because everyone wants to come to Cornwall when it's sunny.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
so beautiful in the winter.
It is. It's
I
amazing
love
in the winter.
The rugged beaches, sitting in the car with a cup of tea.
Yeah,
it's so
exactly.
beautiful
I
in
mean,
the
when it
winter,
rains
but-
every day for 5 months, it's not
Well,
ideal.
yeah,
But
I mean,
it's
let's not talk about that.
The GM at Gilly, he wrote his March report for me, and he wrote in there.
Right.
Bear in mind, Laura, it's only been sunny for 9 days
Yeah.
this whole
Wow.
month. And I was
my
like,
gosh.
I think the whole
Yeah,
year
we
so
feel
far
that.
has been 9
Yeah, we
days.
feel that.
Yes,
That's
I
another
definitely.
one of
February
those-
was 2 days.
Yeah,
If that.
and that's another one of those
It's
challenges
tough.
that we face in Cornwall that other places won't face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Poor old Gilly Beach. If it's sunny, we'll have an amazing day, and if it's rainy, it won't.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
tough.
and then of course you don't want to have your staff on 0 contracts. Of course you don't.
No.
But it has to work for the business as well, doesn't it?
It just
they
has
have
to
be
work.
profitable and
One doesn't take priority over the other.
Yeah.
It all has to just work holistically.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us such specialists in hospitality in Cornwall, because it is harder. Every season you think, right, we've just put this beautiful investment in our cider and our pressing facility at the farm. It's sort of a beautiful, great big tree that shows you the journey an apple takes from being grown in winter, throughout the season, pruning the tree in winter and being pressed in the autumn. It costs an arm and a leg. And everything you do, you roll the dice and you say, will we have a good season?
yeah.
Will we pay this? Will it come back to us? Is this a good investment? But what do? Do you sort of not do it?
Pull back,
And allow our
and
entire
then-
county and our entire sort of way that people view us externally, do we allow them to sort of think that we're not on our game?
Yeah.
No.
It's really tough.
Because we are on our game, we've got some amazing venues in our county,
yeah.
amazing food and drink. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge for sure.
I know I've already touched upon this, but as I said before, it's very clear how passionate you are about kind of food and drink and hospitality, and you've clearly carved an amazing career for yourself to this point now. Do you have any tips for anyone that, I know it's a difficult industry to get into and it can be quite difficult to kind of work your way up, but you've clearly done that. Do you have any tips for people that are really passionate about kind of hospitality and would like to be in your position maybe in the future? Like, can you share any sort of top tips for them?
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, you don't, it's one of the sort of careers that you don't necessarily need sort of qualifications in. It's just about who you are as a person. I think my top tips would be, one thing I do an awful lot is self-reflection.
Yeah.
Really take a step back. What do I want? What am I trying to achieve, and how am I trying to do it? What's my end goal? Laser in on it and get there, So anybody that wants to sort of succeed in hospitality, there's a practical side of it. You have got to be incredibly hardworking.
Yeah.
You have got to be loyal. You have got to be honest. You have
Yep.
got to be able to find second, third, fourth, fifth gear. You've got to be able to dig deep, and you've got to be able to get on with people. But it's very easy to tick over in hospitality and then look back and go, gosh, I've been doing the same thing for 3 years now. So
Yeah,
it's about
absolutely.
recognizing who you are as your brand, what's important to you, and working with businesses where your brand adds value to their brand, and being strategic in how you use your time and build your own career. Because we're not in a place where, there's less opportunity to say, well, hey, look, if you go to school and you do this A-level and you do that GCSE and you do that at university, you'll then come out and you'll go into a graduate course in being a waitress.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. It works in a way of, you find the place that fits you.
Yeah.
Because then you can be your best version of yourself, and being the best version of yourself gives the best experiences to our customers and brings the best value. So my top tip would just be, know who you are, work really hard, and think about where you're going to be and what's your strategy. I've done it a few times in my career where I've walked into somewhere and gone, oh my God, I'd love to manage this. And 3 years later I do.
It's amazing.
And that's happened. It's actually happened a few times.
It's a form of manifestation,
Yeah,
isn't
it
it? At the
is.
end of the day.
It is, but it's having that focus to say, okay, what do I need in me? What's lacking in me to get me there? And how do I proactively try and fix that. And I say proactive because, again, we're not quite there as a point in time where there's that much support. Do you know what? There's lots of support. I'm relatively speaking to other industries, but I'm not taking away from a lot of incredible support there is down here. But compared to other industries where it's a very clear, linear sort of progression. So there's a lot of figure it out and get on with it. I think that's honestly the best thing. Go and figure it out and get on with it, and then you'll succeed. Work hard and you will succeed.
Yeah. We spoke earlier very briefly about sustainability and Healy's. Tell us about your journey in sustainability.
God, okay.
In a nutshell.
Well, we do. There's loads, So when we talk about sustainability, there's the real obvious stuff, right? So everyone goes, oh, great, they've put in for a solar farm, and great, they've got a wind turbine, and they've got solar panels on all their roofs. Great, it's real big, it's real obvious, and why wouldn't you do those sorts of things? And as I say, Cider House Company Limited is fledgling. We've been around a couple of years, but it's going to be so important in our journey moving forward to make sure that we really kind of understand the tangible stuff that actually makes an impact. And when I say the tangible stuff, yes, it's recycling, yes, it's turning lights off, but it goes all the way through to challenging who your suppliers are, and how they source and what packaging they use, and going back to them and saying, hey, look, I noticed you dropped off the fish today in 27 litres worth of polystyrene. How can I work with you to make that not a thing anymore? And it's also, it's this is so boring, maintenance of stuff. It's making sure that if you've got a drippy tap that you stop it dripping. And when I say the grassroots bits we don't think about, it's that. It's your buying policies, it's your maintenance policies, it's your, I've got the heating turned up really high because the window has a leak and the draft comes in. So, I say there's the obvious stuff. There's the solar, there's the wind turbine, there's the 4,000 apple trees that are offsetting carbon every day, there's the 12,000 vines in the vineyard to make English sparkling wine, offsetting carbon every day. There's the extra 1,000 trees we planted last year because we needed to move one tree and we felt so awful about it, we planted 1,000 more. So there's all those sorts of bits and bobs. But again, you can't lose sight of working from the ground up, making sure that, if you've got 3 heaters in a room and one's not working, fix it. Fix it, because that actually has a huge impact long term on your overall kind of carbon footprint and your sustainability. And again, as I say, for us, unfortunately, when you have a restaurant, it's delivery vans all day, every day. And it's how do we take time? Take time, make some headspace to go, that is a problem. And what do I need to do? Do I need to look at how I order things? Am I being organised enough? Can I cut down how many vans visit my venue and take those off the road? So there's an awful lot to be said for how, as a whole sway, this whole industry, how hospitality can be better. And it's a great big topic. And I would say it's a little bit like health and safety. Doesn't matter how much you know, you will never complete. You can't complete sustainability.
No,
You've always got to look to push that a little bit harder. And find ways of doing things better. Absolutely. So I would say the passion's absolutely there. In a lot of respects, the knowledge is there. But I don't think I'll ever sort of say, we've reached it. Because I don't think we ever will. We've always got to be pushing forward with it. So,
but it's great that you consider everything, and you kind of got that. That's at the forefront of your mind, and you're trying to make improvements. That's kind of, you're halfway there, even having that mentality.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're kind of about to move into, I guess, the busier season for you. So I would imagine kind of, I guess next month, maybe now things are starting to change a little bit, but I guess.
Do you know what? June... Touch wood, the sun's come out.
Yeah.
And there's a feeling in the air. It smells like footfall. There's something going on.
Exactly. So you're about to be super busy. So what in terms of the next few months, and I guess like the summer season ahead, what are going to be the biggest challenges for Healy's and for Cider House? And do you have kind of any exciting plans that you can share with us, or what are some exciting things that are coming up over the summer?
I mean, to be honest, delivering summer is exciting. And as I said earlier, it's you roll the dice. In Cornwall we have. I joked to my boss, Joe Healy, and I say, we spend 11 months prepping for that 1 month. Because that's sort of how it feels. So it'll be our first full season at Gilly Beach Cafe. And, our sort of focus over there is about being open and being present and making sure we're delivering the right sort of style of food and drink. And, again, we'll always be evolving that and sort of reflecting on it. So I think the biggest challenge is ensuring that we have a good season in the first instance. We've got to be, as a community, as a county, finding ways to promote ourselves and get people down here. And I know that sometimes is frustrating. I'm local, same as everyone else, and I get in the car and I go to Sainsbury's and it's queuing out the door and I think, I just need some cat food, a poor cat, and I'm weighing up, should I just cook it a chicken breast, should I just bite the bullet? But but for us to succeed, for businesses to succeed, for our economy to succeed, we have to have that. So the biggest challenge is, will we have the footfall? Will they come? Can we look after them in the right way? Will they come back? So that, and then I suppose biggest change this year will be, we've done a lot of work at the farm in upgrading the kind of look and feel of all those bits and bobs. And I would encourage anybody that hasn't been, even in the last 2 years, to come again, and try our fantastic new releases. I've conveniently placed some Rattler Zero, award-winning Rattler Zero on the table there. The innovation in our sort of drinks products is always really, really exciting, and there's always so many ideas bubbling along and launching. But as I say, Gilly Beach Cafe being our first year down there, we absolutely want to inject a little bit more time and energy and love into it. The previous owners, it's clear they loved it. It's absolutely clear they loved it. But with anything, you come in with your fresh energy,
fresh ideas,
and it's about taking something and making it better and pushing it a little bit further on again. So we'd love the opportunity to being custodians as we are of Gilly Beach, to give that a little bit more love and inject a little bit more energy back into it again, upgrade the look and feel, think about how that venue can create more year-round infrastructure, which then in turn creates more year-round employment and gets rid of some of those 0-hour contracts. So that's probably our biggest plan, is looking at Gilly, how we improve it. How we just maximise it and improve it and keep it there for another 100 years or whatever it is. So I think that's probably the most exciting bit. But honestly, I'd say all of it. There's nothing that I don't find gratifying about hospitality. Whether that is, as I say, going over to Fives and just seeing people have the best time. I look forward to that. I look forward to that Saturday night in that back garden when it's just going off. And walking in and just thinking,
the adrenaline,
they're having a great time and they're enjoying it. So I take a lot of pleasure actually in the real, simple things, to be honest.
God, you're making me want to go back into hospitality. It took me such a long time to get out.
That's amazing that you say that, though. And I think, just to say, obviously the Healey's have done an amazing job in creating such an incredible business model, but I think they are also very lucky to have you, because it's
100%.
I mean, it's so clear where you speak. You are doing amazing things, and I think hearing you speak, I first heard you speak at one of our lunches at Healey's, I think a couple of years ago.
Oh, did you?
I remember saying then to Kim, actually, I was like blown away by you speaking, and like one of the best speakers I'd seen, because it's so clear how much you love what you do.
Yeah,
so I think maybe pay rise for you would be nice. Yeah.
Just say Joe.
If Joe's listening, pay rise.
Don't edit that out, will you? I will throw them a little bit of credit as well. It's easy to be passionate about hospitality. Like I was saying earlier, you've got to find the brand that works for you.
Absolutely.
It has to work in partnership. And it's funny. I say to Joe, I am trying, and he's like, "Yes, you are." It's a joke, but it works because the Healey's themselves are passionate.
Yeah.
I wouldn't work for them if they weren't. I think it's clear.
Of course.
You can see that.
Absolutely.
If they weren't passionate and they didn't align with the things that matter to me, then it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So, I'm a product of my environment. So there you are.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, it obviously works very well. So, absolutely.
I think it's time we crack open the Rattler.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Well, on that note, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you
as
for
you
having
said,
me.
I think it would be very beneficial for anyone to visit Healey's that hasn't been there recently, because
Yeah,
there has
definitely.
been so many changes. And obviously with Fives and Gilly Beach as well. And Gilly Beach on a sunny day, you could not go anywhere better.
Oh,
in my
don't.
opinion. It's one of my favourite places.
Don't. And, we talk about these immersive dining experiences, and from probably, I say, as soon as the weather holds, we'll be bringing back our amazing seafood barbecues. And for me, when you can walk in and you can see fresh caught scallops, have coming off the boat, and the chef's there with a barbecue, and there's the English sparkling wine that we also make, that we've poured for you. I just think, does it actually get better?
No,
does it?
Life made.
And it's on our doorstep.
Yeah.
So absolutely, like you say, if you've not been to one of those venues recently, definitely.
Absolutely.
Make it your mission. Get back down there.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Well, thank you so
that.
much.
No problem
It's
at
been lovely
all.
to talk to you.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you.